The expert that I've been waiting for, because I got a lot of questions. It is Sam Monson from Pro Football Focus. Sam, how are you, buddy? Let's go, Sam. How are you, Sam?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, there he is. Hey, Sam, I need your analysis. I need your opinions on this because I got so many things I wanted to ask you specifically. Number one question, we've been talking a lot about it here, Derek Carr. Where would you like to see Derek Carr end up?
I think Derek Carr in New Orleans makes a ton of sense. They were the team that was interested when it was going to cost something, when they were going to have to trade for Derek Carr. So with him on the open market, I think that's a great fit for them. I think it immediately makes the New Orleans Saints the favorite for that division. And for Derek Carr, it's a team that gives him an obvious pathway to do something, to make the playoffs, to make some noise, to look like the starting quarterback of a playoff-bound team, and gets him into the NFC, where the landscape isn't quite as treacherous as it is in the AFC, with all these incredible young quarterbacks that were in the playoffs this past season.
I mean, is that a thing for a quarterback like Derek Carr? Because listen, that division with the Saints and the Bucs and the Panthers, and we could go on, is terrible. Like, would that actually affect Derek Carr's decision to go, well, everybody else is terrible on that little side of the world, so I'm going to go over there and be a little less terrible?
Yeah, it's tough to know how much that's going to factor into his decision, but you've got to think that an agent or, his representative, somebody that's looking out on behalf of Derek Carr, is at least aware of that and maybe steering him in that direction. And maybe Derek Carr is the kind of guy that wants to compete and wants to go against the best quarterbacks and wants to be in a division with Patrick Mahomes and face him twice a year. But in terms of him looking as good as he can be, the people that are around him have to be aware that that's an easier thing to do, I think, in New Orleans than it is in some of these other places he could end up.
I'm not trying to go Derek Carr palooza here, but one final question about the guy. As he's with the Jets and he's doing a little tour and he's in no hurry to actually sign with the team. I mean, is it hilarious to you? Because you did bring up the Saints. It's hilarious to me that he said, yeah, I don't want to be traded to the Saints. And so the Raiders, you can get nothing for me. And then if he still goes to the Saints, like that's him just kind of sticking it back to them. That's kind of funny to me. Is it funny to you?
Oh, yeah. The Raiders sort of did him a little bit dirty, right? They shut him down. They basically said, you're done in Las Vegas. We're moving on from you. And so since then, he's saying, well, okay, if you're going to treat me like that, I'm going to treat you the same way. And I'm going to make sure you don't get anything from me. And if I can, I'm going to rub it in your faces.
I don't know if you heard the breaking news yesterday, but we think Aaron Rodgers goes to the Titans because he's building a house in Nashville. And I talked to one of the guys that was actually working, like an assistant under one of the guys working there, and said Aaron plans to live there all year long. Breaking news if you haven't heard that yet, Sam. But where do you think Aaron Rodgers ends up, even though you know that I talked to an assistant worker on the property of Aaron Rodgers' new house? Go ahead.
I think Tennessee makes some sense. We've heard talk here all week at the Combine that the Titans are going to be moving on from Ryan Tannehill. You could see how they would be all for jumping into the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. They still have some work to do if they do that. Get him an offensive line. That group fell apart last season, was ranked 32nd in the NFL at PFF. So it's a starting point. It's not going to make them immediately Super Bowl contenders, but I like it. The team that I would love to see Rodgers go to is the Jets, though. I think that's a team that can contend immediately with Rodgers stepping onto that roster. They have weapons. They've got an elite defense. They've got an offensive line that should be significantly better than last year. Even if they don't do anything to it, just when the guy is getting back healthy, Rodgers would make the Jets an immediate contender, albeit, in a tough division where you have to get by Buffalo, Miami, New England, and the AFC. I think the Jets is a team ready to compete if they got a quarterback as good as he is.
We talk about Aaron Rodgers, and I guess it's a foregone conclusion in a lot of our minds, myself included, where it's where's Rodgers going to go? He's going to stay with the Packers. He's going to go to the Raiders or the Titans or the Jets. But, Sam, in reality, what do you think the odds are that Rodgers just goes, I'm done?
I mean, it's always possible with a guy like Rodgers. We're talking about an unusual human being, somebody that goes and locks themselves in a dark box for 2 days to try and meditate on what he's going to do about this. Somebody that goes on ayahuasca retreats. Rodgers is not the normal NFL quarterback. He's an unusual person, a unique thinker, and it's always possible that guy might just decide, you know what, hosting Jeopardy sounds pretty good to me right now. I'm going to go. I don't need to get hit every week of the year for the NFL season. I got better things to do with my time. You're right. That's absolutely always a live possibility with a guy like Rodgers.
It would be disappointing in the story arc if he just quits.
Sure.
And
yeah, 100%.
Then he would live in Tennessee. I would be right. He just wouldn't be playing for the Titans. So we talk about free agents. Let's move off of quarterbacks. They are not to be discussed in this next question. But who's the number one free agent on the board that's not a quarterback?
It's tough. It's not a great group of free agents. I think Javon Hargrave is the prize, the defensive tackle from Philadelphia. He's the guy that fits the profile of young enough, talented enough. He's been a dominant pass rusher the last couple of seasons inside for the Eagles, grading above 90 in the PFF scale, the 0 to 100 grades, like pure blue chip dominant type of performances. And there aren't too many of those guys out there. And a lot of them we saw this season, the teams that were really good had one of those true alpha interior pass rushers. The Chiefs obviously had Chris Jones. The Eagles had Hargrave. The Bengals, they had DJ Reader dominating. The Giants had Dexter Lawrence. You need one of those guys in today's NFL to really push the pocket, to cause problems for those opposing quarterbacks. I think Hargrave is the guy that's going to get some big money off the back of it.
Sam Monson from Pro Football Focus, lead NFL analyst, on with us here. It's the Rich Eisen Show. I'm Bobby Bones. Final three questions. Which draft prospect do you feel like is still being undervalued based on their grading from Pro Football Focus?
I think there's a lot of them for various different reasons. It sounds kind of funny because he might end up being the number one overall pick, but Bryce Young is being undervalued when we're comparing him to these other quarterbacks. We're talking about a big four group of quarterbacks. Any of the four could end up going number one overall. They've all been mocked there in various different mock drafts. Bryce Young's tape, I think, is head and shoulders above the other three guys. And if he was head and shoulders above the other three guys in terms of statue, we wouldn't even be talking about it. We would be saying Bryce Young is the best quarterback in this draft, and actually he's a generational talent. He's that good. He's a dominant quarterback. He's been carving it up in the SEC, and the fact that he may only be 5'10", 185 pounds, or whatever he ends up weighing when we get the official numbers, it shouldn't change that.
Which receiver do you think will be taken off the board first when the draft happens?
I think it should be Jordan Addison, the USC wide receiver. Used to be at Pitt when Kenny Pickett was there. When you were watching Kenny Pickett tape, Addison was the guy jumping off the tape. I think he's a little bit underrated as well because everybody's focusing on what he doesn't do or the fact that he isn't, 6'4", 200+ pounds and able to run 4.3 flat. But he's just good at everything. He reminds me a lot of Garrett Wilson from a year ago, where a lot of the same thing was being said. Garrett Wilson's not a Jamar Chase type. But he is just good at everything, and he was Rookie of the Year. I think Addison has similar types of skills where he can play inside or outside. He can win at all levels of the field and make an immediate impact to any offense that ends up drafting him.
I'm going to lean into you here for your speculation, your prognostication. Who do you think has the most potential to move up the draft boards from now, here we are at the Combine, to draft day? Like the biggest jump from what they were going into the Combine and everybody's feeling about him to the day the draft happens?
I think two guys yesterday that put in some pretty impressive workout numbers have a chance to really shoot up draft boards. I think one is Nolan Smith, the edge rusher from Georgia, the guy that ran in the 4.3s, 4.39, blew up the Combine with all the other numbers as well, maxed out the vert. People have been concerned that he's a little bit undersized, but he just put the kind of workout on display that will make people overlook that and make people say he can be Hassan Reddick with extra speed. And then the other one is Kalijah Kancey, the Pittsburgh defensive tackle. Again, sort of set a record-breaking number in terms of the 40, is going to get compared to Aaron Donald because of similar size, similar speed, same school, and that will only help him. He's been talked about as a first-round pick already, but we're seeing him appear higher and higher up on mock drafts. The last one I saw had him going in the top 5. I think he's a guy that is going to catapult off draft boards off the back of this Combine performance.
Are you having fun out there?
Yeah, it's great. It's Friday though, so it's a bit of a grind. Most people have been here since Monday. You can see the week start to take its toll on the people, and the fact that the quarterbacks are on the podium this morning at 8 a.m. feels a little bit mean-spirited by the organizers.
All right, follow him on Twitter at PFF_Sam. Sam, great talk. Appreciate the time, buddy.
Anytime, guys. Take it easy.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.